Hello, further sure. Hi, my name is Tom Lombard. I live at 196 Priscilla Street, Bridgeport. Oh, okay. My name is Tom Lombard. I live at 196 Priscilla Street, Bridgeport. My polling place is Thomas Hooper School. I voted there at 7:30 in the evening because I was semi-involved in Democratic politics, and I'd like to know what the numbers in that are. Whereupon I heard people scrambling to make the call to some judge to see if we could extend the hours, making history once again for the city of Bridgeport. With all due respect to Bob Walsh, whom I respect greatly, I'm happy that the mayor convened this meeting. The integrity of Mr. Panuzio, to me, is unquestionable, even though he is a Republican. And I thank everyone involved on the panel, and I hope this is done honestly and with the integrity that the city of Bridgeport needs to protect its image. First off, as far as the register of voters go, I believe it should be an immediate resignation. I mean, Obama was in Bridgeport the week before, and they only ordered 21,000 ballots. I mean, that's total incompetence. I'd like to know, excuse me, what are the qualifications to be a registrar of voters, other than your last name? Another thing that I agree with when the earlier gentleman said, that we have to have a recount. I mean, for the deputy city attorney to imply that he's got more juice than Susan Weisbich is ludicrous, which is another black eye for the city of Bridgeport. We need to keep our image above board. We can't have the foolishness of fights in common council chambers. I mean, we're the laughingstock of the nation, and it's, to quote Mr. Grimaldi, that Bridgeport, where the city where the circus never left, is proven true once again. Okay, I'm going to do this real fast. All right, so we need a recount of the legitimate ballots, the absentee ballots, and the photocopies. To me, this is a test run, to steal the election 2 years from now. I would also like to know of what is the chain of custody of the ballots? Does the check-off versus the count add up correctly? Admittedly, we had positions where the poll worker said, "I'm tired," people didn't show up. So who babysat that bag of votes during the course of that? The people that said they'd show up and work the polls that didn't show up, they should be put on a list where they can never work. If they're that irresponsible, don't ever call them again. And primarily, above all else, I believe that we need to appoint or open up a voters oversight committee. I think everybody, again, people walking away instead of voting. I think the Democrats and Republicans, I think they've lost a lot of confidence in this thing, and there should be a neutral party, Democrats and Republicans, where we get 6 or 8 people to babysit their polling places. So the moderator is shooting basketball, that's all garbage. That's foolishness. These are issues that I think need to be addressed, and I hope they're in your concerns. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir.
The city where the circus never left.
Thank you. You're a great audience.
Get on the pronunciation, thank you. Hi, I'm Geraldine Fan. I live at 300 Dexter Drive in Bridgeport, and I voted at the Chopsy Hill School at the end of the road. And when I got there, well, I voted for many, many years, and this is the first year as a Bridgeport resident born in this city that I have ever felt uncomfortable about the process. Because when I got in line, there were several people in front of me. There was nothing going on, and they were sitting there. We were standing up waiting for ballots. So after about 10 minutes waiting in line, with several people in front of me, some guy came out and just dropped a bunch of ballots on the table, stacked, and he said, "Here are your copies." The woman at the table looked up at him and said, "Well, how much is here? You're supposed to count it. We're supposed to have an actual count when you give me copies." So that made me uncomfortable. Another thing is, when I got there, there was one lady checking off the people who came in by street, and it usually is 2 people at that table, and there's 2 people at the table where they're actually handing you the ballot. When I got my ballot, which was white on the other side with no instructions, I said, well, where's my vanilla folder, you know, for privacy? We ran out of vanilla folders. So I went with my one-sided copied ballot to the table, filled it out, went to the machine, tried to scan it, and came back. So I looked at the guy standing near the box, and I said, well, this is not scanning. What's going on here? Oh, it's the paper. It's the thin paper. It's not the right. Just put it in the auxiliary slot. So I dropped it in the auxiliary slot, and I got even more uncomfortable because I know someone has to count all that, and it's nice to have the scanning as the backup as well to the count. So a little upset, I got in my car and raced to the registrar's office. And standing there was a couple people, I don't know who their names were, but I told them about my experience. And the lady looked at my sticker on my leather jacket and said, well, I can see you voted. So I looked at her and I said, well, I just have one question for you. Is my vote going to be counted or is it going to be played with? So they laughed and I left. So I'm just more concerned about the presidential election coming up, and I want everyone's vote to be counted. And I left there not so comfortable whether or not it got actually counted because of the whole process was all broken down. Thank you for giving me the time.
What time did you leave? Shopsy Hill?
Shopsy Hill at the end.
Okay.
Park City Magnet, between 12 and 2, I believe. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Maria Valla? Okay. Carolyn Vermont?
Good evening. My name is Carolyn Vermont. I live at 90 Dodd Avenue, Bridgeport, Connecticut. I voted at Hallam School at approximately 6:30 p.m. I had no problems at Hallam School. Went in, was able to vote. The staff was courteous.
What time was that?
About approximately 6:30 p.m. at night, yes. No lines. However, I address you as president of the Greater Bridgeport Branch NAACP, where many of our members did not have that same positive experience that I did. We received a number of calls, and at that time I went up to Central High School and encountered voters who had problems with them running out of ballots. Some were told to come back, some did come back. However, they just weren't sure if their votes were being counted. They had a problem with the ballot forms being blank on the other side. Therefore, they did not have instructions. They felt that staff did not treat them in a dignified and respectful manner. There were also other complaints of receiving notices to go to Columbus School. However, the school was closed, or notices to go to one location and they get there, their name wasn't on the list. They were sent to another location, name wasn't on that list either. And even though, the poll hours were extended, so many people had other responsibilities. They need to go to work, they need to get home, feed their children. And, voting is a right, it's not a privilege. And particularly for somebody like me, a woman, we had to fight for that. A black person, we had to fight for that. And so that's really something that we just cannot take lightly. And we must make sure that this never happens again. I don't have the answer for you. I don't know if we can still get parts and go back to the old machines, or if we can try the new touch screen method that some other states are using. But hopefully as a panel, you will come up with a solution to make sure that everyone can exercise that right to vote. Thank you.
Thank you.